You were like the youngest person to become a billionaire. Is that right?
Yeah, in terms of my own, earning it on my own, yeah.
Right. Okay, so, well, it's just the most important thing, yeah. So, when you were a kid, did you care about money, or you just cared about technology and it just happened?
Mostly I love software. I do remember at the private school I went to, there were other kids whose families were better off, like they had a Porsche or something, but it wasn't that big of a deal. My thing was that I just loved doing software, I loved hiring people, and I was stunned when it ended up being so valuable. My best business decisions really have to do with picking people. Some of the ideas you come up with, you run by them because you know they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, have you thought about this and that? And just the benefit of sparking off of somebody who's got that kind of brilliance, it's not only made it fun, but it's really led to a lot of success. So picking a partner is crucial. I'm a weird dropout because I take college courses all the time. I love learning company courses and things, so I loved being a student. And there were smart people around, and they fed you, and they gave you these nice grades that made you feel smart. So I feel it was unfortunate that I didn't get to stay there, but I don't think I missed any knowledge because whatever I needed to learn, I was still in a learning mode. When I started Microsoft, I didn't think of it as all that risky. I mean, I was so excited about what we were doing. It's true I could have gone bankrupt, but I had a set of skills that were highly employable, and in fact my parents were still willing to let me go back to Harvard and finish my education if I wanted to. If you find an idea that requires 3 or 4 years of improvement and patience and really sticking with it, that we're very good at that. Take Windows, which we bet our company on. Everybody doubted that would succeed. IBM did not support us in that. It took longer than we expected, over 4 years before finally graphical interface got popular, and now people take it for granted. It's part of every personal computer, and you just expect it to be there. I'll tell you, when people are first skeptical and they think, oh, this kid doesn't know anything, then when you show them you've really got a good product and you know something, they actually tend to go overboard and they think, whoa, they know a lot. I had one habit that I developed when I was at college that was actually a very bad habit, which was I like to show people that I didn't do any work and that I didn't go to classes and I didn't care. And then at the very last minute, like 2 days before the test, I'd get serious about it. People thought that was funny. That was my positioning, the guy who did nothing until the last minute. Then when I went into business, that was a really bad habit. And it took me a couple of years to get over that. Nobody praised me because I would do things at the last minute, and I tried to reverse to students I'd actually, I didn't think that highly of, who were always organized and had things done on time. I'm still working on it, but procrastination is not a good habit. The thing that was scary to me wasn't quitting and starting the company. It was when I started hiring my friends and they expected to be paid. And then we had customers who went bankrupt, customers that I'd counted on to come through. And so then I got this incredibly conservative approach that I wanted to have enough money in the bank to pay a year's worth of payroll, even if we didn't get any payments coming in. And I'm almost true to that the whole time. We have about 10 billion now, which is pretty much enough for the next year. Anyway, if you're going to start a company, it takes so much energy that it better overcome your feeling of risk. I don't think that you necessarily, if you're going to start a company, should do it at the start of your career. I think there's a lot to be said for working for a company, learning how they do things. If you're young, it's hard to go lease premises. They made that hard for me. You couldn't rent a car when you were under 25 at the time, so I was always taking taxis to go see customers. I'd talk to my dad, I'd talk to Warren, I'd talk to my wife Melinda. So I have enough people that know me and actually know where my judgment isn't its strongest, where I might get overexcited about something or forget to think about something. And so they're good at correcting, particularly Melinda, good at correcting whatever those blind spots are. And I think it's good to encourage your friends and advisors to really give them that license. You know, I can go to a party and forget to say hello to various people or something. That's a very minor example of my blind spot. So, you know, a small number of people that you can turn to on certain key things is a great asset. Well, I love my work. The work of the foundation is super interesting. I get to meet with the scientists. I get to go out in the field. I do think your habits are sort of set in your 20s and 30s. And by my standards of the 20s, you know, I didn't believe in weekends back then, not to mention vacations. So I'm, you know, fairly lazy compared to myself in my 20s, where I was a true fanatic. You know, all I believed in was working on software night and day, and for my 20s, that was perfect. I didn't have a wife or family at all, and my role was very hands-on role. You know, I'm very lucky that my foundation work, the part-time work I do for Microsoft, I see that extending, you know, for decades into the future, and having an understanding of innovation, you know, I think shaping innovation in many of these areas, there is a unique role that I can help play. The key point there is you've got to enjoy what you do every day. And for me, that's working with very smart people. It's working on new problems. You know, every time we think, hey, we've had a little bit of success, we're pretty careful not to dwell on it too much because the bar gets raised. Are the brightest minds working on the most important problems? And to the degree that they're not, how could we increase that, which I think would make a huge difference? I myself did not go through some rational process of picking what I wanted to work on based on it ranking high in some list I wrote down of great problems. I fell into what I ended up doing as my full-time career. And I feel good that you can say through happenstance, that work actually led to a broad industry, personal computing, internet, software, that has been incredibly empowering. These important problems, there's reasons to believe we can make progress. But that rate of progress will be somewhat proportional to how we draw people in. And my dream is that, you know, say a few years from now, I'll go off and I'll have a weekend, and instead of talking about March Madness and stock prices, you know, we'll have these brackets about the best teaching and which ideas have been tried, team teaching, online, and we'll be comparing which had really come out with the best outcomes. And then we'll talk about food and, you know, the best seeds, the new agricultural practices that are increasing this productivity, and, you know, we'll have that same kind of excitement and understanding that we have about other topics. And if we really did that, yes, you know, we might delay the invention of a new financial product by a few years. We might even delay that baldness drug by a few years. But if it helps on the important problems, I think it's a good thing. For my part, I'm just happy that the Crimson called me Harvard's most successful dropout.